It's the 22nd of August 2011. Tripoli, Libya. Muammar Gaddafi, the ruler of Libya for over 40 years, was literally living his last days inside a big civil conflict. The surrounded neighborhood of the country fell into the hands of the opposition forces. The NATO intensified its air raids on the regime's strongholds. That led al-Gaddafi to leave the city and head towards Sirte to reorganize his regime's scheme and continue the resistance. How did al-Gaddafi live his final days? What did he say to his companions? And how did he fall into the hands of the opposition forces? The convoy, composed of a security vehicle and another carrying al-Gaddafi, departed from Tripoli around 1:30 p.m. While passing near Bin Tahir Mosque, the convoy was ambushed and directly fired upon, increasing the danger of the situation. Despite the ambush, no one from the group was harmed. The escort managed to control the situation and continue their movement. Amid the chaos, the security vehicle became separated from Gaddafi's car. In Salah ad-Din area, the team was forced to change the cars and continue their journey until they reached a regime checkpoint, where several young men surprised to see al-Gaddafi in Toyota Camry. After passing the checkpoint, Gaddafi's vehicle continued toward Bin Walid. Upon arrival after the sunset, the fasting members of the group stopped at a small shop to buy water and biscuits for iftar, where they were later joined by several loyalists. After breaking their fast, the convoy continued their journey towards Souf el-Jin area. Upon reaching Sidi Mubarak Castle, they were stopped by someone warning at intense clashes at El Sadada intersection. Gaddafi expressed a strong desire to head toward the site of the battles, saying, however, two of his officers convinced him to change the course by making him believe that they were heading to a specific site of the reposition. Gaddafi agreed, and the convoy returned to the man-made river road, then continued through a Shuwairif and Bungam areas until they entered Sirte. The convoy entered El Wafa neighborhood in Sirte at dawn on August 23, 2011. A relative suggested that Gaddafi move into a nearby apartment building next to a judicial complex. The proposal was carried out and he moved into apartments early that morning. Later, Gaddafi inquired about the city's situation. The attendees informed him of the details, and he asked whether it was possible to communicate with the city's radio station. He was told Sirte's local radio was still broadcasting, so he decided to send a daily recorded messages to it. Starting on August 23rd and afterward, Gaddafi moved daily between several locations around Sirte, including Jarif, the Gate 50, and Abu al-Hadi. The purpose was to monitor defensive fortification, check on preparation, and meet with the local civilians and military leaders. Gaddafi lived a simple life, eating a basic available food like ragida, bread and crushed wheat, and macaroni. He would rejoice if good milk and tradition over bacon bread was found, but he never asked for anything special. He refused to change his distinct clothing, despite the risk of being identified. Until October 20, he insisted on wearing his famous shirt and refused to replace it. On October 15, NATO and allied armed element launched the first attack on Sirte. At the time, Gaddafi was in a farm surrounding the city and managed to return only with difficulty due to the accelerations of the Grad rockets bombardment. Upon their return, the apartment where he had stayed was bombed twice. He always advised keeping windows open to reduce pressure for explosions. One night, while the city was engulfed in complete darkness and only aircraft lights could be seen, he said sorrowfully, After that, Gaddafi and his group moved to a location known as Area No. 2. By then, Sirte was gradually collapsing, and they found themselves besieged under harsh living conditions and severe shortages of supplies. Internet access was lost, and it became impossible to send recorded messages. Media communications was limited to the local radio, which was later directly bombed, destroying the studio and effectively cutting off all remaining broadcast channels. In a desperate attempt to break the siege, one of the escorts, with help from a naval frogman unit, managed to repair and operate a small boat called Zodiac. Gaddafi offered the chance to use it to flee Sirte, but he refused, saying, a similar incident occurred later when his son Mu'tasim suggested using a motorized parachute that could carry only 2 people. Gaddafi laughed and said he also refused that idea, insisting on not leaving Sirte or those with him. As battle intensified on Wednesday, October 19, clashes reached their peak in Area No. 2. The group was holed up in a house, while the opposing forces had taken position in a house. Across a narrow 8-meter street, the close proximity made shouts between 2 sides clearly audible. That day, the decision to flee became necessary. Under a heavy pressure, Gaddafi agreed. They began preparing the vehicles, but each time a car was ready, it would be stopped by shell and destroyed. There were no spare cars, no proper equipment, and very limited weapons. The group planned to depart at 3 a.m., heading toward Jarif, but due to delayed reconnaissance, departure was postponed at 7 a.m., and a convoy of 40 vehicles moved through the port areas without significant resistance. While opposition forces had already taken position near Mahari Hotel, the convoy took the Tripoli road. After only 3 kilometers, a direct NATO airstrikes hit the security car behind Gaddafi's, killing several escorts and injuring Gaddafi in the head. He exited the vehicle and fled with another into opposite farmland. But another airstrike hit the same area again, destroying the most of remaining vehicles. Gaddafi had no option but to take shelter in abandoned building under construction. In these desperate situations, he declared, "This is the day of martyrdom." He urged those still able to move to resist, even with a little ammunition available. Rebel fighters began gathering after seeing smoke rising from the burning cars. Violent confrontations began in the area. As buildings began to collapse under bombardment, Gaddafi and his escort exited in small groups, thus dispersed. Gaddafi chose to hide in a sewage pipe with no companions. Once the site was fully surrounded, one of the escorts attempted to flee, but was shot immediately upon emerging. Then another shouted from inside the pipe, "Gaddafi is with us," but the rebel responded dismissively, "Just come out yourself." When the man exited, he was also shot in the torso. A rebel approached the other end of the pipe to surround those inside. When he peered in, he was shocked to see Gaddafi standing, holding a pistol, and the rebels ordered him to drop the weapon, but he froze in place, seemingly hesitated or refusing to surrender. In a crucial moment, one of the rebels leaped at him, brought him to the ground, and captured him. Others then began beating and insulting him. One attacker stabbed him in the backside with a knife, causing a heavy bleeding. He was then placed in a picked-up truck and taken about 50 kilometers away, allegedly for medical treatment. During that trip, it remains unclear what exactly happened, but according to the forensic report, he likely died from 2 bullets, one to the abdomen and another to head, to confirm his death. Mu'tasim Gaddafi was also captured alive but was later executed under mysterious circumstances. In the end, the fall of dictator al-Gaddafi was not a mere passing moment. It was a complex scene of chaos and ambiguity, riddled with conflicting accounts and unresolved questions. His end carries more than one version of the truth.